Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Gripe, the show for short, sweet reviews of new release movies, plus the one thing that annoyed me the most. And today I'm going to be talking about Tim Burton's new film, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. There are going to be some spoilers. So after his grandfather dies, a young man searches for answers in the stories that his grandfather told him as a child. And when he follows the clues, he discovers a secret and magical world of peculiar individuals. But their world is threatened, and he may be the only one who can save them. The film stars Ava Green, Asa Butterfield, Samuel L. Jackson, Judi Dench, Chris O'Dowd, Allison Janney, Ella Purnell, and Terrence Stamp. And the film is directed by Tim Burton, based on the novel by Ransom Riggs. So let's cut right to it. Let's talk about Tim Burton's direction. It's actually quite refreshing because it's reminiscent of movies like Edward Scissorhands and Big Fish, with a strong amount of exposition and mystery. Those two are two of his best movies, so to feel like those is quite a win. That also means it's a lot more grounded than some of his recent films. It's not nearly as satirical or absurd as you get with movies like Alice in Wonderland or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And it also has an interesting mix of visual effects, some of the stuff that he's well known for, like stop motion, as well as some that are a little bit more just straight CG, like the hollows in the movie. The cast does a superb job, particularly Asa Butterfield, for one. He plays this lost soul so well that, I actually kind of wonder if he's ever actually found himself. Ava Green, she's delightful as always, and also quite the badass. That's just kind of who she is as a person. And Samuel L. Jackson plays a really menacing villain, but I feel like his character is dealt a really bad hand in terms of development versus the actualization when he finally shows up. What they talk about his character and how he actually appears and carries out actions in the film don't seem to line up particularly well. But Jackson does his best and plays the role with a menacing touch. The film offers plenty of wonderful moments and concepts. It is a little bit slow at times, but it's also patient with how it builds this world. Like I said, there's a lot of exposition, and it's really patient with that. You do get invested in the characters and their quirks. All the characters that you're introduced to, you're curious about who they are and where they've come from. And then, of course, when peril arrives, you want to see how their talents work together. You want to see them come together as a team, almost like X-Men. But as with a lot of movies this year, apparently, the third act is where it falls apart. The action just gets goofy, almost to the point of being boring or just way too cheesy. And like I said, with Samuel L. Jackson's character, he starts off as this intriguing and calculating villain, but by the end of the movie, he just becomes generic and his motive is completely lost. It's not defined well enough at the end of the movie for you to care about him as a villain. And then characters just kind of like disappear. Like what happens to Chris O'Dowd? He plays Asa Butterfield's father in the movie. He just disappears in the third act, which is probably because of my key gripe for the movie. One of the integral aspects of the story is the use of time loops. So the Peculiars survive in these time loop locations basically forever because it's one day that just at the end of that loop just starts over. And so even though they are still cognizant, they're basically reliving that day forever. So they can live in a loop forever. In the last part of the movie, though, you're expected to follow these kids as they jump between the loops, which actually makes narrative sense for their survival. But here's why it's my gripe. It becomes so flimsy that they can use it as both this ticking clock plot device as also some sort of deus ex machina. They even save a character from death, which loses the impact of that character's death. And they throw this into the ending, which is already really chaotic and somewhat incoherent, that you pretty much just accept whatever result you get and assume the math all checks out, which it might, but it's all thrown together so shoddily that by the time the movie ends, you're like, okay, I don't really know what happened, so I'm just going to accept that this is how it's supposed to end. And with a movie as heavy on exposition as this was, it doesn't suffice as a conclusion. It just leaves you feeling like, okay, you built up this story extremely well, and then at the end you wanted to basically blow your budget in the action, in the visual effects, and to give us this really just crazy ending, but it just doesn't feel satisfying because you're not left feeling like the story that was built for you in the first 2/3 of the movie gets a worthy conclusion. Overall, this movie starts off really well, building this universe in one of the more grounded ways for a Tim Burton film, but in the end it succumbs to its basest impulses and becomes overly goofy and incoherent. It just doesn't leave you feeling satisfied. You feel entertained but not fulfilled that the story completed what it set out to do, which is a shame given the excellent cast, and I will challenge people to say that the cast was boring. I think they did a really good job, as well as the strength of the first half of the film in building this world and building the stakes for this story. So I do feel like it started off extremely well, but then kind of fell apart at the end. So I'm going to give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. It was, again, great start, but just really was not able to go the distance. And Burton, I think, the Burton sense kicked in, and it kind of went off the rails at that point. Let me know what you thought of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, and you should probably go see it just to get your opinion on it as well. Thanks a lot for watching this episode of Key Gripe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, you can click over here to subscribe to my channel, or you can check out my website over here at dkessner.com, where you can find out more about everything I do, including the books I've written, like Elliot Knoll, and so many others. So thanks a lot for watching.